Hey guys, Nick here with Nick's Whip Shop, and in this video I'm going to show you my method for making a whip with an off-colored handle like this. You've probably seen this whip in some of my other videos, but a lot of people were wondering how I did it, and I'd like to show you my method for doing this. So if we step over to our clamp here, our vise, I actually have a whip in progress, and it's the same kind of whip as this, just different colors, but it's essentially the same kind of whip. Let me show you how I do it. Now this whip has 3 plated bellies that start at the top of the handle. When I began the whip, I started the first belly at the top, the second belly at the top, and the third belly at the top. But the overlay, I started actually an inch above the transition, an inch above where the steel rod ends. And the reason I do that is because I don't like to waste, because it's going to be cut off anyway. And the way I do this is I'll start at about an inch above, and I'll just tie on the strands just like I would with any other belly. But once the belly is complete, I'll come back with nylon thread and I'll bind it tightly to hold things down. Then I'll come back with a razor blade and I'll cut the remaining strands. I'll probably just take it, actually, what I do is I just make a slice down here, gently, is not to cut into the belly below. Slice it, peel them away, and I'll take a wood burner and singe these little guys down to make sure everything's flat. And then I'll throw the whip on the floor violently and smash it. No, I'm just kidding. I'll throw the whip, toss it on the floor, and I'll roll this out with my slab, just to round things off. Make sure it's, nice and flat as can be, so there's no bumps. And for the handle overlay, it's pretty easy. This handle is 8 inches long, so I like my strands to be about twice the length. So if that's 8 inches, 16 is is double that. Hope I said double before. If I didn't, I meant that I like these strands to be double the length of the handle. A little more, 20 inches. So I'll take 8 40-inch pieces of paracord, double them up. That way I have 16 plat. And I'll start it just like I would any other overlay at the beginning. And I'll plate. As you can see, this is just a diamond plat. And once I get to here, I'll go a little beyond there, and I'll tie this off and do this again, except on the handle overlay. So I'm going to do that, and we'll pick up there. I'd like to show you how I do it. Okay, so I've plated over the beginning where I had the overlay tied down. I actually went past that, and I'll show you why. Now, when you're doing this, always be conscious of where the thread is. If you need to take a little peek in there, go ahead. By spreading out some of the strands. I'm just going to look at the bottom here and make sure I see where I'm doing this good. So now this is where I need to start tying down. And I'm just going to take electrical tape to hold it down while I work. Like this. Just to hold it down, because I don't want things to be untying themselves on their own. So now I'll take my thread, I'm going to back out a little bit, there we go. And I'm going to start binding here. Now I'm taking this, and this is my little loop, and this is what's going to pull the thread through for me instead of tying it. I'll show you, we'll set this aside for later, I'll show you what this really is. Just a loop. So now I'm going to take my thread, take one more look to see where it is. Good. It's right here is where I want to start binding. And go as tight as you can without breaking this thread. I'm not sure what the tension max is on this stuff. You don't really need it that tight. It's quantity of wraps is what gives you the strength anyway, so you don't have to like rip your hand off tightening. Okay. Just gonna keep going around and around for a few times. This is gonna hold everything down for us. Okay, so I'm just gonna keep going around. And to save time, I'm going to cut it and come back. Alright, I'm ready to tie it off. So here's that little loop that we had earlier. I'm just going to do this. And just wrap over that. And this is gonna allow us to pull the thread through, to hook it. Just gonna wrap this about 10 times. This is just a little method that I learned from Bernie. Check out his channel, Bernie46. Has some good kangaroo hide bullwhip tutorials. I don't think he does nylon, but he makes some fantastic whips. Check him out. Alright, time to cut this. And you're going to slip it through the loop here, like that. As soon as it's through the loop, grab a hold of it. And then you're going to grab the bottom of these and then just pull it through. And then it's snug. It actually pulled the thread underneath all the other ones, so it's being held down by itself. It's really a clever idea. Alright, so once we get here, we can undo this electrical tape and see how we did. Did good. So now the idea is, now they're flush with each other. This is flush with this. Handle is flush with the overlay. Now this is the part where you want to be very careful, because if you snip any of these threads, it's all going to come off. So let me back out and show you what that looks like. And I know this looks like a waste, but it's the best you can do, because I like to have a lot to be able to pull when I'm snugging down the strands. Some people can get away with this, but I like to put my whole hand on it and make everything nice and tight. So we'll zoom back in again and start snipping strands. I'm going to use a razor blade to do this. If you got a pair of snippers that have a very fine point, you can use those too. And ever so carefully, I'm going to cut these strands off. Make sure you can see, because if you're cutting in low light and you make a mistake, there goes 30 minutes of your time, and you're going to have to do this all over again. So do be careful. Take care not to cut your thread once you already have it tied down. We're just making all these as short as we can without cutting into our thread. And now don't yank on these, because you can dislodge the thread. And everything will come undone on you. Just be patient with it. My razor's getting a little dull. Now what you can do here is come back with a wood burner. I'm not going to do that this time, because I think I have enough cut off to where I can just go ahead and take more thread and make this all lay down. But if you want, it's a personal choice. You can take a wood burner and make this lay down flat. I think this is going to be okay. Move this camera a little bit. Zoom out. So I'm going to make another little loop thing with the thread, so that way when I pull it through, you know how to do that now. And now I'm just going to go over everything. And by everything I mean I'm going to take more thread and wrap around the thread that I just did. Because like I said, some of the strands are on top of each other, causing more pressure on the loops, or the rings of thread. So once we pulled them apart like that, there's these little loops of thread are going to be a lot looser in some places. And even if they're not, I want to make sure that they they're going to be okay and hold strong. Because there is a lot of stress on this portion of the whip. And it's better to take an extra 20 minutes and get it strong than have a finished whip come apart on you. Okay, so I'm just going around this. As you can see, I'm going over, see that? I'm going over what I already did to snug it up. See that? I'm going to actually move this down a little bit because it's hitting my vise. It's in the way. So this is how we do this. Snugging it up. Alright, I'm really working on the ends now, as you can see. We're really working on the ends. Tightening everything. And people ask how far should this go, this section of thread? It doesn't really matter. It depends on how big you want your transition knot to be. The Indiana Jones bull whips, the transition knot's about 1 inch. I try to keep it 3/4 of an inch because your leather strip, or I use leather to build up the cowhide to build up the transition knot area, so I keep it 3/4, 3/4 inch. And the final stage with the thread, once again, we're gonna cut it. Put it through the loop. Get the other end of our loop. Pull. Man, that's really tight. I'm just gonna pull it through with brute strength. There we go. Okay. Alright. I'm gonna snip that and neaten it up. And there you go. That is how I do my off-colored handle whips. And all that's left now is to do the transition knot and the heel knot, and this whip is done. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful. If you're wondering how I do the next step, check out my video on how to do a transition knot. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. If I don't get back to you within a week or even 2 weeks, I do apologize. I get a lot of emails, 20+ questions a day. So please be patient. I do my best to answer you guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.